Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Junaid, and today I'm going to tell you about losing weight without doing any kind of exercise. The most important step to take is to minimize salt intake. Minimize salt intake. Minimize salt intake. Everything, literally everything that we consume, food, fruits, vegetables, they all contain sodium chloride naturally. So we don't have to add salt. Yes, it's really hard to minimize salt intake. It's really hard to quit salt because we are so much accustomed, we are so much habitual since we start eating any kind of food in our lives. So I think we should understand how salt works. So whenever you eat salt, it retains water. Okay, it retains water weight. Whenever you eat salt, you retain water weight. How does it happen? Well, when you consume salt, the water property of solvent is to move towards the solute. So this is called osmosis. So when your veins, your tissues, they have excessive amount of salt, they retain water. So sometimes you see someone's neck, really puffy neck, puffy hands, puffy body, all kinds of different, puffiness. That's because of eating too much salt. And actually salt is very harmful. Recent studies have shown that salt is very, very harmful. It causes many kinds of diseases, okay? So the next big thing about eating salt is that most of us we have this water weight. We are having too much water weight, and it's just not that fat. Our body contains 70-75% of water, and why we have too much water weight is just because we are eating too much salt. So if we minimize salt intake, what happens is over time, over the period of time, we will start losing water weight and we become slimmer and slimmer every day. So this is really, really important to understand that salt is not healthy. But nobody tells about salt, right? Because whenever you have a hypertension, a doctor is going to say you minimize salt intake because it elevates the blood pressure. But they don't really tell you that it also increases the water weight. So most of us were carrying too much weight, overweight, obese. We all have a huge amount of water weight. So in order to minimize it, we have to minimize the salt intake. In order to lose weight, we have to minimize the salt intake for a longer period of time. I'm saying 40 days, 50 days. It's gonna be very hard for you if you're really gonna quit. Of course, you're not gonna quit it. It's not very possible, but you can try to minimize it. And as long as you minimize it, after 40, 50 days, you will start seeing some changes. You will have more energy. You will feel like slimmer, and you will feel like lighter than before, and you will also lose weight 100%. You have seen some UFC fighters. They lose like 20 kilos. Some of them, they even lose much more within just 2-3 weeks. How can they do it? That's because they lose water weight. They do sauna, they do a lot of exercise, when they sweat a lot, and because of sweat, losing a lot of salt and losing a lot of water, they actually shred in no time, very, very quickly. So what I'm saying is that the amount of fat that you think you have because you're overweight, you're obese, if you lose water weight, you are probably gonna lose a lot of weight. And try to minimize it, because all kinds of foods, they contain salt. You don't have to add salt. And salt is also cause of many other illnesses. It can cause a lot of other problems. And of course, if you minimize salt intake, you're not going to be sick. You're not going to have hyponatremia. Our extracellular fluid contain 143 millilitres you know, salt, it's like huge amount of salt, so we are not gonna have, not gonna become lack of salt just because if we have a diarrhea or some other illnesses, maybe we will lose more salt. But it's really important to realize that salt is really very harmful, and it increases water weight and causes water retention. So that's really my number one most important thing.